Okay, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to today's Saturday service.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, hallelujah. As always, it's a pleasure seeing everybody here again. Lets me know that the Father did wake up everybody. All right, so we are here, giving us enough opportunity to do His set-apart will, so we're always glad for that. I personally thank the Father for waking me up this morning, giving me the strength and the energy to do it all over again. Everything that I got wrong yesterday is a brand new start. Let's try to get it right or better this time. You know, had a pretty busy week, but the Father, as always, He got me through it. Learned a few things, and I'll just become a better person all the way around. How to dedicate myself to the Father more. Still learning, still humble, understanding that I'm not perfect, but mature enough to know that when I make a mistake, to acknowledge my mistake and keep it moving, you know. So that's the whole thing about it. If you're not mature enough, because we look at the word being righteous, righteous just means that you're mature. Right. And you're mature enough, again, when you do make a mistake, listen, you know what, I made a mistake, you want to apologize for that. You don't want the leaven to go down on your wrath, because a little leaven leavens the whole lump. Right. So we don't want that. And the more you hold envy, jealousy, malice, and hate inside of you, and you to let that thing go on for today, tomorrow, the next day, it's going to be that much harder for you now to get rid of the anger and the malice, because you're starting to let it grow. Just like leaven. Leaven, if you leave it in the dough long enough, it's going to grow until it gets to a point, if you're not careful. And if it's too much leaven, it just bursts. Exactly. And if it bursts, you don't want that to happen, because now you might flip out and just find yourself on the news, you know, the Solomons in handcuffs now because he exploded, you know. But it's not that serious. It's not that serious. But they're just letting you know the reason why it's important for us not to let the leaven go down on our wrath. You know, let us go down. Right. We don't want that. We want things to continue to flow in harmony and in shalom, and we're all about shalom. Right? So I had a good week. It was good. Anybody else have any testimonies they would like to share? Shalak, Yahuah, Shalak. But I'm always saying Shalak. Okay.
I had a good week.
Okay.
It was long though. You know, I'm doing the full-time hours now. But I tell you, Yahuah has been good. I was doing at my job we had tests, even though we're in training. Okay. And if you fail twice, you terminated.
Wow, makes sense.
I passed every test we had. We had people get terminated because they did. Wow. You know, they're not playing. Wow. But I passed every test. You know, Yahuah has been great this week, traveling back and forth. You know, even when the people around me acting retarded and fighting with the cops, Yahuah, I stayed clear and get on the bus and go home. Wow. You know, but had a great week. Going into the next week, you know, my schedule changed, so I'm not going to be here for about 6 to 8 Shabbats. Yeah, because my schedule changed. Now I'm going on the job training.
Now you know that, right?
But yeah, so now I'm going on the job training, so I have to do whatever the person that's training me schedule is. Right. So I'm doing 4 days, 10 hours each day, and 3 days off. So my 3 days off is actually during the week and not during the weekend. Right. But you know, I'm doing what I gotta do, you know, and Yahuah opening up doors, you know, and this is just one thing. But I did find out at my job I can submit a letter from here or from any of the more ways.
We have that. We have that set up.
Because they honor religious reasons. Oh, okay. And they do it for the Ashkenazi Jews all the time, so they might as well do it for us.
Hallelujah. We can do that. We have a letter already in place. Right. Absolutely. So you don't have to go down further Georgia and stay there? You don't even have to do that?
Nope, I don't have to do that. Right. Stay right here. Okay, hallelujah. Being certified and everything right here. I'm good.
Okay, yeah. Hallelujah. Anybody else? Any of the links? Oh, okay. Keith?
Well, I'm back with a license, so.
Okay. Hallelujah. All right. Glad to hear that. Hallelujah. Very good.
License form?
Private pilot's license.
Pilot license, all right.
Pilot's license.
Yeah, you got a pilot.
Yes.
It's not a congregation. congregation of Yashra'al.
Hallelujah.
I asked him where he parked the plane at.
Yeah.
I know it's somewhere.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, what type of plane did you drive? I mean, fly, not drive, but fly.
I've been flying Cessnas, 172s.
What are they called?
Small ones.
Okay, not prop busters. I mean, something
No,
bigger than that.
no.
Yeah, those were the
Right.
those were the old style of planes there. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. I'm included in a couple of things. Yeah, I've only done nothing about planes.
Right.
Anybody else? Okay. All right. Well, Mr. McCall, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to have the shofar blown 7 times by our chief Zakani, the Yahuah, and we're going to have our eloquent speaker, Brother Solomon, to start us with prayer. All right? What we're going to be doing today, as you can see, the title that's on the board, the Masoretic text and the name. So we're going to be tackling that a little bit, and we just want to touch on it. And the next time that I come up, we're going to try to do the part 2, because it's a very, 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 very long lesson, very long. And this lesson is so important because we really have to understand who are the Masoretes, the importance of the name, but there's a lot of people saying a whole lot of different things. And we just want to share with everybody why we say Yahuah, or in tones of Yahuah. So we're going to talk about that today. And we just want to have a good time in the name of the Father, the Son, Yahusha, and Mashiyach.
Yeah.
I've got something here. But before we get started, let's give all esteem to the Father, our Yahuah, for his mercy, his love, his covenants, his oath that he made with the congregation of the nation of Yashra'al, and the promises that he made to our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Abraham, again, in the 12 tribes of Yashra'al. So, the Father's mercy, his covenants, and his oaths are very, very important. And he made these covenants and these oaths with his people, the 12 tribes of Israel. So being that the Father has made these covenants, and these covenants were ratified through oaths, and this is a blood covenant, let's look at some scriptures first to show some of the scriptural proofs of Yahuah keeping his vows, of remembering his oaths. So again, what we're going to be tackling first are some scripture, biblical proofs of Yahuah keeping his vows, of remembering his oaths. So if the Father is upholding his end of the bargain, obviously it is our responsibility to uphold our end of the bargain. This is a marriage agreement. This is a covenant that was made between the Father and the nation of Yashra'al. And let's see how good the Father is doing with his promises that he made with us. We're going to go to the book of Devarim, or Deuteronomy, the 8th chapter. You can start at verse 17 and 18. 17 and 18. If we can get Solomon to read that for us, please. Nice and loud, so all the young ladies in the nation of Yashra'al can hear your voice and be captivated.
Right.
And thou say in thy heart, my power and the might of thine hand have gotten me this wealth. But thou shalt remember the Yahuah thy Elohim, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he sware unto thy fathers, and it is this day.
Right, hallelujah. So just going back over, verse 18 is going to be very, very important as we begin to understand oaths, covenant, and the key word in verse 18 is the Father is saying that we shall remember Yahuah our Elohim. So the word remember is a part, is going to be very important. So we're supposed to now remember our Elohim, Yahuah, for it is he, the Father, that giveth thee or us power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, and that's very important, his covenant which he swore into our fathers, which is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So everything is contingent now on the promises that the Father made with our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Everything is based upon that. Which he swore to thy fathers, our fathers, as it is this day. If we can now switch over to the feminine side here, if we can get with, let's go with More Eliyahu's Isha, Shemot, the 2nd chapter, verse 24. For the book of Exodus, the 2nd chapter, verse 2 and 24. And again, what we're trying to establish here is that the Father is upholding his part of the agreement that he swore to our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And being that, again, he swore to us his promises, it is our responsibility to uphold our end of the bargain. That should be very important. The book of Shemot, or the book of Exodus, the 2nd chapter, verse 24.
And Elohim heard their groaning, and Elohim remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob.
Let's go 25, please.
And Elohim looked upon the children of Yashra'al, and Elohim had respect unto them.
Hallelujah. So we read it again. We are now in captivity, and we came into one accord, and we began to groan and cry out to the Father. And it says in Elohim Zakar, he remembered his covenant. That's very, very important. He remembered his covenant that he made with Abraham and Isaac at this time here, and with Jacob. And Jacob was the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. So it is very important that we understand what's going on in verse 24, is that it is surely, or definitely sharing with us that the covenant was made with a particular people. The Father's people is the nation of Yashra'al. And we can find that, or track that going back again to Abraham, then through Isaac, and through Jacob. That we are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And when Israel, we groaned, it said that Elohim looked upon the children of Yashra'al and did know or had respect unto them. Very, very important. If we can go back to Brother Solomon and the book of Exodus, please, 6 and 5. I just want to make sure that we understand exactly how serious this walk is, how serious the Father's covenants are, his oaths, and the Father is not a genie. Meaning now is that we just can't keep asking for things and not putting anything or an effort in return to the Father. So at some point, we're going to have to be able to show our appreciation for all the great things that the Father has done. And again, the Father is not a genie where you rub in a lamp and all of a sudden this finger is going to come out and you think you have all of these wishes and you're not giving anything in return. So the book of Exodus, the 6th chapter, verse 5, please.
And I have also heard the groaning of the children of Israel, bondage, and I have remembered my covenant.
And I remember my covenant. So that's going to be very important that the Father is always remembering his covenant. And if the Father is remembering his covenant, again, it is our responsibility to remember our covenant or agreement that we made with the Father. From there, we're going to go to the book of Vayikra, the book of Leviticus, the 26th chapter, and we're going to have a Koti Leah, please, if she could read Leviticus, the 26th chapter. Leviticus, the 26th chapter, please, and the 42nd verse. Leviticus, the 26th chapter. Let me just catch up with you. 26, 42, 42 to 45. And again, we talked about the covenants, the promises that the Father has made with the nation of Yashra'al. No one acts, 42 to 45.
Then will I remember my covenant with Jacob.
Right, then will I, Zakar, remember my covenant with Jacob. And the Hebrew word for covenant is brit. So this is a blood covenant. Also, read on.
And also my covenant with Isaac. And also my covenant with Abraham will I remember. And I will remember the land.
And what is the land that the Father's going to remember? Exactly. Yahusha, Yashra'al, the land of Canaan, all mean the same thing. Read on.
The land also shall be left of them, and shall also her Sabbath. While she lieth desolate without them, and they shall accept the punishment of their iniquity.
And this is what we're doing now. Read on.
Even because they despise my judgments,
Right, because we despise the Father's judgments.
and because their soul abhorred my statutes.
Right, and because our soul hated the Father's statutes.
And yet for all that, when they be in the land of their enemies,
And again, that is very important. We are now in the land of our enemies. We are not home. And a lot of us, like Yahuah always tells us that we can't get comfortable here. This is not our home. We are now in the land of our enemies. Read on.
I will not cast them away, neither will I abhor them to destroy them utterly, and to break my covenant with them.
So the Father is not going to break his covenant with the nation of Yashra'al.
For I am Yahuah thy Elohim,
For I am Yahuah, their Elohim. I am your husband. Read on.
but I will for their sakes remember the covenant of their ancestors, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt in the sight of the heathens, that I might be their Elohim. I am Elohim.
Right, hallelujah. One more verse, please.
These are the statutes and my judgments and laws, which the Elohim made between him and the children of Israel in Mount Sinai by the hand of Moses.
Hallelujah. So, verse 46, these are the statutes and the judgments and laws which Yahuah our Elohim made between him and the children of Yashra'al. That's self-explanatory. This covenant was made between the Father and the nation of Yashra'al in Mount Sinai by the hand of Moshe, and Moshe was a mediator. All right, he was the mediator. Let's go to the book of Psalms, 105, 8, and 11. We're going to go with Shalach Yahuah this time. Psalms 105. These are very easy scriptures to understand, but a lot of times we might miss them, not understanding how important it is for us now, again, to recognize who it is that's given us life, breath, wealth, roof over our heads, food, clothing, and shelter. A lot of times we take for granted the little things that the Father is doing for us, being able to put one leg before the next. A lot of people are getting up and they can't walk. Not everybody has two legs. Not everybody has two arms. Not everybody can go to the bathroom. All these little things we might take for granted, but we should not. We should not take those things for granted. So always be mindful and thank the Father for every single thing. Every single thing. Everything. I mean, something as you might not think it's common as going to the bathroom, being able to relieve yourself. Because there's a girl that I know, she had a baby, and it was a preemie. And the baby's organs didn't fully develop, and the baby was only about maybe, the baby actually eventually died, but the baby had, there's a sack on the side, because the baby had to use the bathroom inside of the sack. Some grown people have it too now, and every so often she would have the colostomy, right, yes, so they had that, and so, but the baby couldn't have been no taller or longer than this book here. I mean, it was a preemie. But again, some of the things I just see people take for granted, walking around with O2 machines, and it's just a lot. So just be mindful.
Yeah, Maury, if you don't mind,
Sure.
I'll make it real quick.
Sure, no
I don't
problem.
take up too much time, because now I'm getting calls from my brother. I've been getting calls from my brother now for the last 4 days. And, you know, he's older than you, but him and his twin are going through so much. Like, he can't, like what you just said, you know, the small things.
Right.
Like, he has legs, but he has to be helped out of the chair.
Wow.
He's only 59.
See.
And he's going through so much in his life, and now he's calling me, questioning me about his faith, because he feels like his time is short
Wow.
here on earth.
Yeah.
So now he's questioning me about all of these things, because these illness that he have, he's bad. The other one have infections through his whole body.
Wow.
I mean, real bad. So, like you said, you know, the small things, being
Yeah.
able to even get up out of the chair.
Exactly.
Hallelujah. Give the Father all the esteem.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We have to do that. Because we don't want to get on our deathbeds and then all of a sudden now we want to come to that acknowledgement of the Father. Because Scripture do share with us that in our affliction we want to seek the Father early. So we don't want to wait until we done ran the streets and there's nothing else that we can do. Then all of a sudden we want to come on home, but maybe forgive me now. You know, I'm not ready to come on home. You know, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just want to be mindful. Make sure that we're mindful. So the book of Tehillim, or the book of Psalms, 105, verses 8 through 11, please.
Okay. He hath remembered his covenant forever.
How long?
Forever.
Mm-hmm.
The word which he commanded to 1,000 generations, which covenant he made with Abraham
Mm-hmm.
and his oath unto Isaac, and confirmed the same unto Jacob for a law, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant, saying unto thee, will I give the land of Canaan, the lot of your inheritance.
Exactly. So the land of Canaan is very important. This is the place where the Father placed his name. And being that the husband, which would be actually the father, and the son is actually now the mediator, but we'll keep it plain. And so we have the Mashiyach marrying the nation of Yashra'al. And so there's an inheritance now for the woman. The woman gets to go into the house or the land. And the land is the land of Jerusalem, which is Canaan, is Israel. But her responsibility now is to take care of the house. And so when we already know the bride didn't want to take care of the house, and so the groom had to tell the bride that she has to leave. But pretty much, well, he kicked her out of the house, but he threw her out of the house with the door still closed. I mean, that's how angry the father was, you know, with the nation of Yashra'al. So let's not take the father for granted at all. We're going to go down to the book of Yahuah, or the book of Jeremiah 33. And we're going to spread the love around, and we're going to have Shammai. If she can read that, please. The book of Jeremiah, the 33rd chapter, verse 20. Let's go with 23. And these scriptures here are like second nature. I mean, we know these scriptures here. It's just that a lot of times we might forget how important and how serious this walk is. This is not something that you can do part-time. If you want to do the part-time thing, again, there's plenty of room in TD Jake's church. You can can do that little part-time there. You can go to the club on Saturday nights, do all the wickedness that you want to do, and then get all dressed up and nice and neat on Sunday, and you go to church and pretend that nothing happened the night before. But with the Torah walk, this is something that we have to do 24 hours, 7 days a week. This is not a part-time walk here. Something that we must do on a continuous basis, all right? Because the Father's always telling us that He remembers the covenant that He made with our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So, Coachy, please, if you can do Jeremiah 33, verses 23. Did I do that right? 23, yes, 23, 26, please.
Jeremiah 33:23. Moreover, the word of Yahuah came to Jeremiah, saying, Considerest thou not what these people have spoken? Saying the two families.
Now, the two families now, Maurice been going over this a lot. So we should have some nice footing here. Okay, not everybody scream out at one time, but I'm going to ask later, who are the two families? Consider thou not what this people have spoken, saying, the two families, or the two houses. Yeah, Leah. Okay, so you co-sign it, you're good. So now, what would happen now is that if the father was here, you would have co-signed off of what Messiah said. Hey, Father, that's what Messiah says, so I'm just agreeing. I mean, or you can stand on your own too and say that this is actually, again, do Messiah have your back? I mean, you're going to run with it. Okay, hallelujah. Very good, very good. You're correct. Read on, please.
The two families which Yahuah hath chosen, He hath even cast them off.
And this is what a lot of the Christian churches are saying. A lot of people are saying that the nation of Yashra'al does not exist today, that the Father has cast them off. Read on.
Thus they have despised my people, that they should be no more a nation before them. Thus saith Yahuah, if my covenant be not with day and night, and if I have not appointed the ordinance of heaven and earth, then I will cast away the seed of Jacob and David my servant, so that I will not take any of his seed to be rulers over the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For I will cause their captivity to return and have mercy on them.
Hallelujah. And so being that the Father still has a covenant with day and night, and if those things can be removed, then the Father will not actually remove his covenant that he made with the nation of Yashra'al. So we can all see that the Father still has the covenant now with night and day. So we know that the nation of Yashra'al still exists as a nation. The Father knows where each and every one of his sons and daughters are at. And again, I say sons and daughters of the nation of Yashra'al. So, question. We've been asked a whole lot as we do our research here of the Masoretic text. The question that's often asked, what is the oldest Hebrew Bible? Very important. What is the oldest Hebrew Bible? And those that might have heard the lesson before, we've gone over this a million times before, but I have a little bit more information to share. So the oldest Hebrew Bible is the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it's Dead Sea Scrolls, but they're in fragments though. And that is the oldest Bible text. Wow, now I'm going to write this down so that we can, in case you want to look it up. So I'm going to be reading a whole lot of stuff. Now, this is also very important if you take the time and you want to do some research, making sure that you have the best version possible. We talked about this before. It's the ALEP, the Alepio Codex. Okay, and then the other one is the Leningrad Codex. All right, these predate the Masoretic text by a long time. All right, so while the Aleppo Codex and the Leningrad Codex are the oldest complete version, but they're written by the Masoretic though. It was written from around the 10th and 11th century. the sad thing about this whole thing now is that with the Alethio Codex, there are now over 200 pages missing. 200 pages missing. Now this is the interesting part about it. The 200 pages got missing between 1947 and like 1957, 58. Now,
You might take it to
excuse me?
say now when Israel was made a state.
Exactly. That was the whole thing about it. I was just about to say. So we have over 200 pages missing. The question then becomes, what was in these 200 pages when it was originally in the Alethio Codex and the Leningrad Codex?